Back at it. Sideline Out of Bounds podcast number 2. Timberwolves talks today. We got a lot of topics to go on, so I'll pass it over to Joey. He'll give you a rundown of the topics. We'll get straight into it. Let's go.
Absolutely, we're back. Unfortunately, our name, Hoopin' and Hollerin', is one of the 700 Barstool fucking podcasts, so we
Yeah,
had to switch up.
run by
We are
Pat
now
Bev. I love Pat
Sideline
Bev.
Pat
You
Bev.
know, Pat
He's
Bev's
great,
our guy.
but Sideline Out of Bounds is a great name as well. Hoopin' and Hollerin'
Mm-hmm.
was good. The run was great, but Sideline Out of Bounds is going to be really good, if not better. Um, so today we want to talk about a few things with the Timberwolves. Primarily, we're starting to get to that point in the year where you have to start to sort of gauge where this team's at. We want to talk about what we think they need to do or what we'd like to see happen to maybe consider them contenders. And that's going to be a bulk of the conversation. Then we want to jump into like Ant's unbelievable clutch efficiency because we think that is spoiler alert, like the biggest reason why we might win
Yep.
or lose come playoffs or come this season. And then some trade ideas, much talked about in Timberwolves communities at this point, but I think, I have about 5 different players to maybe discuss, and I want to get your opinion on Srivat's on some of them. I have their stats pulled up too, so we can kind of have a little more in-depth conversation with those guys. So let's just kind of start it right off, man. Like, what do you think we need to do to be considered contenders? What is your sort of take on the team so far?
Yeah, absolutely. I think first off, I think we have two of the most critical things, like attributes a team needs going into the playoffs. I think those two attributes are defense. We have one of the most elite defense. Shout out Rudy Gobert for
He's
holding
unreal.
down in the paint.
He's unreal.
I
All-star,
know a
that
lot of
man.
people have always talked shit. This year, I think it's been I've seen a different level. He's getting old, but the way he
Dude,
deters any rim actions or anyone attacking the rim, it's been
it's
unbelievable
unbelievable.
this year. So shout out Rudy Gobert. And the second thing, which Joey kind of alluded to in the intro, was Anthony Edwards' shot making and shot creation. It's been absolutely absurd what his efficiencies have looked like this
Makes
year.
me emotional.
I think last year we saw, I know, right? Last year we saw a jump in that 3-point percentage, but this year we're just seeing a more efficient player overall. The way he moves, the ball, the way he gets the ball and scores immediately without hesitation. I think there's so much more efficiency in this game this year, and while the numbers might not translate, I think if you look at more advanced stats, it definitely shows up in those.
Dude, it's
But those are the
unreal.
two things that I see. I think those two attributes, having a superstar level, MVP level player that can get a bucket at any moment, and having elite defense are some of the best things that this team has currently.
Completely agree.
With that
I,
being said, yeah, go ahead.
Oh yeah, I completely agree. I think even I was only listening to the game against the Bulls a few days ago, and literally like Alan Horton on the call, who's unbelievable, when Anthony Edwards is in the clutch, like there's this expectation in the announcer's voice, in the fans' energy at the arena that he's going to score. And unfortunately,
Hmm.
against the Bulls, he didn't actually have like a great clutch
Right.
game. He had a few misses, but like it just goes to show how unbelievable this dude is that you're expecting him to hit these difficult clutch time shots.
Yep.
It's really impressive.
That kind of brings me to the point that I was going to say is, with that being said, Anthony Edwards has been hitting these insane high level difficulty shots. I do not know if that is something we should be relying on consistently.
Yeah,
I don't think the numbers that he currently has in terms of shooting percentage, true shooting percentage in the clutch, are things that are going to hold up in the playoffs. That is something
absolutely.
that concerns me because we have a very talented roster around us. We have guys that can hit shots when Ant is doubled. And again, I'll give credit to Julius Randle and literally the entire roster. We've been hitting shots, but I think in the clutch, it's been a little more too Anthony Edwards focused. So if we
Agreed.
could get the ball moving a little bit, having more open shooters hit the shots rather than Ant ISO. Because
Yeah.
like you mentioned, in that Bulls game, it felt like a shot chuck. Like a lot of
Yep.
those end of game shot chucks, they were on too, just back rim. But
And he's so good, like we get so used to it, like, oh dude, like just put it up, and like Anthony Edwards has been making it this season. And so you get numb to the idea that maybe these aren't great processes to get to those shots, or these aren't great looks
yep.
for any, mortal human being. But like when you really think about like Anthony Edwards, the player, at least I do, when like he's at his best, it's I'm going to get off the ball. I'm going to start moving the ball. I'm going to move off ball. And that's just not happening as much in the clutch.
Mm-hmm.
And granted, it slows down for every team. Like every team has their quote unquote closer. Yeah, like they have the player that
Right.
they go to in clutch time, in isolation, and they ask them to take them home. It is not a bad process to rely on Ant. I think what you're saying and what I'll agree with is it's a bad process to rely on Ant that much. It's too much Anthony Edwards. It's too much isolation. I need more drive and kick to other players, more offensive process. I want Jaden McDaniels getting the ball on a kick out and getting downhill to the rim, because that's an unbelievable offense as well. That kind of stuff is just as important as an Anthony Edwards shot. I had one other thing that I think they just need to have in general going forward, sort of back half of the year, and it isn't maybe necessarily specific to contending. Like, I'll explain this. I think their consistency and overall approach has to be different. They play very arrogantly. They play like they can turn it on and off, and they can to a large degree. But we're seeing right now in the middle of fucking January, it's negative whatever. It's Siberia in Minnesota. Like, they don't feel like they want to play, and just an absurd sort of, like, someone who loves playing basketball and like doesn't play basketball for a living, it's like, oh, when I go play, I play hard. So it's absurd for me to think about like you're getting paid millions of dollars and you aren't going out to play hard. But they just need more consistency. They need to build some of these habits. And once I see those habits be built and have those habits present themselves on a night-to-night basis, that's when I'll be like, okay, yes, they are actually a true contender. Because the numbers are great. And you brought up some numbers that, before we started the pod that I think we should get into. But the numbers are great. It's just I want those habits and consistency to be built now. It's so critical that happens.
Yeah, 100% agree. So I think one of the main improvements that I think we both agree on is our clutch execution. I think, like you mentioned, right, we don't want to die by having a lot of stagnant ISOs. We want to make sure the ball is moving, swinging across the floor, making sure you get the defense in rotation, getting the best available shot. I think that's point number one. The second point you brought up, which was building the habits. I think that is definitely one of, I think a lot of teams struggle with this, but us particularly, I think I've seen it in the past couple years where we are very talented and we have proven that we can win in the playoffs by getting to the Western Conference Finals 2 years in a row.
Yeah.
But I think if you want to be that true championship level contender, I think building those good habits is the most important thing.
Yeah.
Again, you don't expect them to do it every single game, but there are some things that you don't give up on, like effort and I think winning margin possessions. I think like two of those things, just giving more effort and winning the margin possessions is, I think, the biggest habits you can have.
Yeah.
To come back to your point of...
I got a point on that. It just feels like there's small things that they do every game, and it comes back to the turnovers. They have the worst turnover percentage in the clutch of any team. It's just it's simple
I was just
shit.
going to bring that up too. Yep.
It's like you want to pull your hair out, and this is where the lack of a point guard really matters. And I'm not saying that Anthony Edwards can't be a ball handler and can't make the right decision and can't do all these things, but the other players around him, it's one less ball handler on the floor if you don't have a true point guard. And Dante DiVincenzo can try as much as he wants. He's not a point guard. He's an elite 3-point shooter coming off screens, coming off flare screens. he's
Yeah.
not getting you in and out of offensive sets. Anthony Edwards can do that now. He's gotten better at that, which is why he's gotten better in the clutch, is that he knows what sets he wants to get to. He knows what looks he wants to get to in isolation, but it isn't this holistic view of the entire team. And not having that there, I think, has caused some anxiety with the team and thus turnovers that follow. So that's
Yeah.
really critical to build a habit of not turning it over and improving that number from worst in the league.
I agree. Um, just to piggyback off that, I think you mentioned also being able to turn it on and turn it off.
Yeah.
At some point in that Bulls game in that third quarter, we turned it on defensively. Like we were
Yeah.
killing. We were getting like 4 or 5 turnovers in a row and getting
Maybe
easy
6 or
fast
7.
break points.
I'm
Yeah,
sorry.
let's not do that.
I'm sorry.
Um,
I'm
you
6'7"
Corny,
farming, bro. I'm 6'7" farming.
You didn't see that Asian kid? He was like, "Stop
Mm-mm.
saying 6'7". It's 2026."
I didn't see that. No, I didn't
I
see
gotta
that.
send you that clip.
All right,
There's
all
like
right.
this kid. He got like a YouTube plaque and everything because of his 6'7" diss track.
Oh, for real? It's 26.
Yeah.
You can't say it. Damn, dude.
Regardless, I digress.
Yeah.
I think we do have the ability to turn it on and turn it off,
Yeah.
but championship teams have effort consistently.
Yeah.
And that is
Dude,
something
look at the
that
two
we need
last
to
year.
develop.
Look at the two. I mean, like,
Yep.
dude,
Yep.
I love the way Indiana plays. Like, when healthy, it's such a shame that they're not like healthy, but their habits and their like style of play is so glaring. It's unbelievable. They have so many ball handlers. They have so many people who can pressure the ball, and then come clutch time, like it never feels like it's too reliant on Halliburton. However, he did have like a pretty good run last year in the playoffs with a few game winners, but it just feels like their frenetic pace puts the defense on its heels, and then they can swing the ball and get a good look, and they have a lot of people getting good looks. So I'm I'm pretty like I'm pretty much a proponent of have a fucking system. Like get an identity that you can like lean into really aggressively. Get those habits that you can lean into really aggressively come playoff time. And when inevitably the game slows down, you at least have those foundational habits that you have for your team that you can lean back on. And so,
Yeah.
um, I think kind of in sum right now, the team's playing really well. They actually have some cleaning the glass stats. They're currently still fifth in point differential. Cleaning the glass has them at 5. This 4-game losing skid really hasn't impacted their position in like terms of like cleaning the glass numbers, which I think is probably the best pure statistic tool that you could use.
Mm-hmm.
They're still 6th in offense and 7th. Oh man, 6-7 baby. In defense. So they're still in a really good spot. It just feels like kind of the sky's falling right now because they've lost 2 games to pretty bad teams. And that happens. I want to see how they respond. And these criticisms, I should say, come from a place of not like, oh my God, we're not going to win anything, or we're not going to go to the playoffs, or we're not going to win in the playoffs because of these things. It's just questions of championship contending, which the standard is high. So the criticism is from that, not necessarily from like, not from a point of deep concern for the quality of the team.
Right. I think another thing that I think I missed bringing up was some of our fouling. I think we also can lack discipline defensively at times as well, which often puts us in shitty situations. Rather than playing in front, you got to play behind and scrap out a win.
Yep.
So I think that's another important thing that I think in the past we've also struggled with, having that defensive discipline.
Absolutely.
So I think that's another thing.
I'm looking at the stats right now. I'm fairly certain this is how you read it. I don't totally know. But our free throw rate that we like, basically the rate I think at which we foul is 17th in the league. So there is room for improvement there. You'd love that to be right around 10. I don't think there's no reality in which it's going to be, top 10 or maybe even top 8. That's just probably not a reality at this point. But can it be 12th? Can it be 11th? Right now,
Very middle of the pack. Yeah, I'm seeing that right now.
the amount of free throws opponents make per 100 possession is 21.5. Can that be kind of, just a little bit lower? It's not going to ever get to 17, but can you get to 19.5? Can you get to 20? That type of margin is important. If all things considered, you're basically adding a point to your point differential at that point, which is huge. I mean, point differential is huge.
Yeah, agreed. And speaking of point differential, I think we've had discussions in the past where we've talked about point differential, and I think if we were to look at one holistic metric for any NBA champion, they always have some of the highest point differentials in the league. I was doing a little research. I think that sweet spot, I think where that line is drawn between whether you're a championship contender or not, is around 3.9 to 4.1. Obviously, that's historic, so numbers do change over time. But if we're talking about last year, OKC had an absolutely absurd plus minus. I think it was over 10, dude. Maybe 11 or 12. And this year, they're even better. I think they're at 13 this year.
They're insane.
So
they piss me off so much. They're so good, it pisses me off.
I know. That's even without Jalen Williams.
I know, dude. And that dude.
So
side tangent, complete side tangent. Where do you have him ranked? Because I think he's probably, when healthy, borderline top 15 player. He's really good.
Liked his game.
You what?
He's a good player. I've never really liked his game.
That's interesting.
I think people say he can shoot, he can do everything. I don't think he is a really good shooter.
His shooting is suspect to me too.
Okay.
But his little mid-range and then his little banker, running banker that he does from the left or right side of the rim is unbelievable.
He's got elite wingspan. So that's what I was about to say. The midi and the lays are crazy that he has. I think his defense is some of the best in the league. I don't know if I'd put him as high as top 15 though. I'd put him more in that 20 to 25 range.
Okay, fair enough.
But I haven't put too much thought into it. I think if we were to list it, I think I'll get a little more clarity. But I don't like that dude either.
But just want to make this, to your point, dude, these numbers are fucking insane. Oklahoma City is number 1 in point differential. Their offense is 120 points per 100 possessions, which is 2 better than the Minnesota Timberwolves, 2 spots better. They're 4th ranked offense, OKC, and the Minnesota Timberwolves are the 6th. And their defense is 1. They only allow 106 points per 100. They're literally a plus 14 point differential, which is
13.9.
Insane.
Insanity.
Insane, dude. I mean, I remember when Boston won their championship a few years ago, it was their point differential is historic. And I want to say it was around 8. It's this historic point differential. It was it might have been 8 to 11. I don't remember exactly what it was. And then OKC
all these stats are from Cleaning the Glass.
Cleaning the Glass, yes.
NBA.com has different plus or point differential stats.
And we like that one because they take out garbage time. So if your team is up by more than, I think, is it 10 points with under 5 minutes to go, or down by 10 points with under 5 minutes to go, they'll just cut it because there isn't a lot of information that you can glean from that particular data point. So these are kind of cleaner statistics, hence the name Cleaning the Glass. But it's really it really is glaring. It's shocking how good OKC is. Now, with that being said, a team with Anthony Edwards, I think, can kind of do anything just because I think he's that good. And then you kind of hope for sort of that playoff jump that Jaden McDaniels usually has, and that those the good play that Rudy Gobert has had this year to sort of translate really well to the playoffs. Because last year, I don't know if it did. But again, it comes back to those habits where it's like, can Rudy Gobert establish habits that are really good in clutch time or really good at the end of games that allow him to not get played off the floor? And I think he has so far. I think his offense has been really good. But I just want to see him be even more dominant in his habits and the people around him more dominant in those habits.
Yeah.
I think this is a good point to kind of pivot. We're about the halfway point in the pod to pivot to trades, because I think kind of a brief sort of overview. I think as much as we've talked about habits and the things the Timberwolves need to do themselves, there's still a player short. Like, I think if they really want to be serious about contending, they need a player. They need someone who can kind of score. Their bench scoring is really not good. It being a strength of the team last year, it has been terrible so far this year.
Yep.
I have 5 players for you, and I have them in tiers, but I'd like to get your opinion on some of them. I think they'll sound kind of familiar, but I have like some cases that I would make for some players. The first player is Ayo Dosunmu. If I'm not mistaken, I think he makes about $8 million, so it would be a pretty easy sort of buy on him. The next player I have is Najee Marshall, kind of a power wing. He's averaging like almost 15 points per game. A good passer, not a great shooter, but a really good, efficient player in the mid-range. Quentin Grimes, who's averaging 14, a guard, fairly efficient, kind of can go nuclear in terms of his scoring, and has been coming off the bench all season for the Philadelphia 76ers. Trey Jones,
Yep.
who would be in my next tier. So those first 3 would be kind of the first tier, kind of the like, hey, I really like this. Trey Jones would be someone I have just a tier below that, and the reason is that I think defensively, I think he would really struggle. He also has a hamstring issue right now, so that's something to kind of be aware of. And then the tier below Trey Jones, and I think it's a pretty safe tier below, is Derrick Jones Jr. He's injured as well. But the reason I have him on here is because I think he is a good kind of like 3-and-D type player. However, he's not like a tremendous three-point shooter. He's averaging 10 points this season and doesn't give you much on rebounds or anything like that.
Yeah.
Side note for Trey Jones, because I didn't say the stats, he's an unbelievable assist to turnover ratio guy, and he's averaging about 12 points this year. So he'd be a scoring pop as well as a nice offensive hub for you if you wanted to go that route. Do any of those names stand out, and do you agree with the order I have them in? And then who is your sort of favorite player?
I remember watching the Bulls game from a couple nights ago, and I know one of the announcers was saying Io was shooting 50% from 3. I'm
Yeah.
just trying to verify that right now.
50? Let me see what he's at. Oh shit!
I don't think it
Yeah,
was.
he's shooting. He's not shooting 50, but he's shooting 46.
Yeah. Okay.
And what
So
is the number? He's shooting 4 games, so it's not on a ridiculously low volume. I think that's more than Jade McDaniel shoots.
yeah. Um. So I'm definitely intrigued by that. I know he's also a little bit of a ball handler, although I
Yeah.
don't know how much that he'll provide us. He kind of reminds me more of a Dante DiVincenzo plus
Yeah.
offensively. But out of all the names you mentioned, the one obviously that I think me and you have talked about extensively has always been Quentin Grimes.
Love him.
One of the most dynamic players in this list. I think he would be an excellent addition. I think he
Yeah.
solves exactly what we need, which is that ball handling, scoring pop.
Do you
With that being
think?
said,
Do you think he's
go ahead.
redundant to Dante DiVincenzo? Because I've gone back and forth where I'm like,
I
is
think
he
he's-
kind of just another Dante DiVincenzo type?
I think he's a little bit better offensively.
Okay. I
I
would agree with
think
that. I think he's more dynamic.
he yeah, way more dynamic. You can put the ball in his hands and tell him to go get a bucket. Whereas Dante DiVincenzo, you kind of want him off ball, um, and doing less with the ball in his hands.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah. And I
you know,
think
I love Quentin Grimes,
love Quinn Grimes.
and I just don't know how ideal. I know we've had this discussion, but I don't know how ideal it would be to get him because I know
Yeah.
he's on an expiring right,
Yep.
and
That's
contracts wise,
that's
I
the
don't know.
difficult thing. He's on an expiring, and that reduces his value a little bit. So it'll
Hmm.
be easier to get him. There's no team control because the Timberwolves are going to sit there and be like, well, we don't know that he's going to resign. We're going to give you Rob Dillingham and who else, or maybe it's a third team that's getting Rob Dillingham and someone else to make money work, and then a third player goes to Philadelphia. But you're going to move out contracts that are beyond this season and get back a player who is only under contract this year, and you might not have the money to sign him. So he'd be a high price rental, which I think is a little bit scary. Like, I don't think Tim Conley is the type to maybe go that route. What I
Yeah,
do think is
especially
really
when you're
interesting.
not 100% certain if you're a championship or not.
Yeah.
I think when you're confirmed, I think it makes sense. But yeah,
Yeah.
I agree. TC shouldn't be pulling that if we
No.
don't know.
I think what I've kind of actually just in this moment talked myself into is Trey Jones, because he's under contract for a few more years. And I think he's an okay defender. I think he's still going to get targeted. Like, he's a small guard.
Yep.
Small guards get targeted on offense. Like, or opposing on defense, they get targeted. Opposing offenses target those guards. He's going to be at least somewhat of a liability defensively come playoff time. But you're hoping that the fact that he doesn't turn the ball over and produces just so many assists for your team is enough, that the organization is enough. I don't totally know this stat, but apparently he shoots really well from the corners, which is an area that the Timberwolves obviously have available in their offense. Like, that's something that you can pretty easily sort of give to him as a sort of diet of shots. But real quick, he averages nearly 6 assists and 1.5 turnovers. It's a really good number for someone who has the ball as much as he does. Yeah, I think it would just be, in my opinion, that might be the move right now. It might be a little bit too reactionary, especially through these last few games where it's just felt like they need a professional organizer all the time. But simultaneously, he's a pretty good scoring punch too. Like, I think he'd probably average 8 points at minimum on this team, and I think that would be pretty good.
Yeah. I agree. I was just about to bring up Trey Jones is the most ideal trade candidate.
Yeah.
I think he'd also be one of the easier people to obtain. But yeah, I think I was just looking at some of his stats. His 3-point percentage is a little low though for the season. It's looking to be around 33%, which not ideal. But like you mentioned,
I wonder if I can find that
we-
stat quick. The corners.
the corners,
Trey
yeah, I was
Jones
just about to bring up
corner.
the corners. But like you mentioned, his low assist to turnover ratio is something we loved from Tyus back in the day, and I think that would be so critical for our team.
So critical. I can't find that stat right now, but someone had brought it up, I think, in a podcast or something, and I like, if he's gonna shoot a respectable number from a corner 3-point shooter standpoint, I think that makes things okay. Where I think the risk is that if you ask him to play kind of similarly to Mike Conley, or like Mike Conley of years past, maybe not this year, because I unfortunately he's hitting that age cliff, but if you ask him to play like that, I don't know if he can. primarily because the hallmark of Mike Conley's game was that he's always been a great three-point shooter off of a Rudy Gobert screen. Trey Jones is not doing that. So a lot of his scoring is gonna kind of have to come off ball or going downhill off of a pick and roll. And again, just the viability of that in the playoffs is difficult. Um, like teams are
Agree,
gonna scheme
100%.
to take that away. Like it's pretty easy to scheme that away. Um, and ultimately, like, hey,
I
like
mean,
no player here is gonna be perfect. All of these players are going to have significant flaws because that's the bin that you're shopping in. But I just think you got to do something. I don't think Tim Conley will stay quiet. Like I think a move will happen.
I agree. Um, Again, I really want Trey Jones. I think you don't need him to do a lot either. You need what, maybe 15, 20 minutes a game. Um, just
Yeah.
come off the bench, be a little spark offensively. Don't turn the ball over. Like
Yep.
essentially is what all you're asking of him to do, which he's more than
Yep.
capable of doing. So he'd definitely be one
I
of my top trade targets. I think he would be my number one
hell
because I
yeah.
think I've been bringing up ball handling since last year.
Yeah.
Um,
And it is. I mean,
so
it's critical. It's critical. I
yeah,
have just a thought here. Um, you go and do the Trey Jones trade, right? And that his minutes are basically he's taking up Mike Conley's minutes, right? Like he is taking Mike Conley's role. And that's that.
yep,
One of the things that we've talked about, maybe not on podcast, but just like something that we need is like a backup big. Rudy Gobert's on-off numbers are kind of insane. Kyle Anderson might get bought out. So you go Kyle Anderson, and he takes basically the Baron J and Jalen Clark minutes. And so he might get up to like 18 minutes a night. Trey Jones might be at like 22, 23. Um, I think that rotation starts to get really nice because I think Kyle Anderson's like more of a backup big than he is like a backup three. So I think like if he plays the 4 or the 5, that's best for him. And I think there's
hmm
room
um,
on this team for that.
I'm intrigued by that. I think you
The
could let him
shooting would be
play.
tough.
Shooting would be tough. I think in spurts. Like I think
Yeah,
there would have to be a little figuring out of roster and
yeah,
rotations. I mean, with that being said, he has been on the team before. I'm sure we'd
yeah.
be able to figure it out. So there is some familiarity there. But I don't think that's a bad move, honestly, just to have. Because he could also facilitate, be a plug-in
Exactly.
guy, a connector, a connecting piece, as you will.
Well,
Um,
even him, like his habits are great. Like he's a
mhm.
great habit guy. Like he's doing the shit that you need to do. I
Yep.
remember, I don't know why I remember this, but I was watching. It was his first year here, I think. So it was the first Rudy year, the year that he punched Rudy Gobert.
Oh
And
yeah.
in one of the games, it was against the Dallas Mavericks. We were in Dallas, and he had, for whatever reason, swear to God, I don't remember like what time of year this game was. I want to find the highlights of it. He stole the ball from Luca a few times, like in the fourth quarter,
Yeah.
like 2 or 3 times in the fourth quarter. And there's just this moment, like after he steals the ball, like everyone's kind of jogging, like cats kind of jogging back, and like team isn't really like getting down to go score. And he's literally like while dribbling, like moving his arm. He's like, "You guys have to fucking move to get down the court. Like, come on, let's go."
Yeah.
And I just think his professionalism and his habits as a player, he knows how to win. Like he's just a winner. He grew up in the Spurs sort of
I was
like
just about to bring that up.
system,
Yeah, for
dude.
sure.
Like that's perfect. And
He
so
he knows how to play ball. Yep, I
knows
agree.
how to play ball. And it's ugly. It's ugly as shit. It's so gross to watch. But it's great ball. So um I would love that. And honestly, like if that were the case, if I knew you were gonna get Kyle Anderson, like if I knew that that was gonna happen, I might be more likely to go for a player who's more of a shooter. So more of like a Quinn and Grimes.
Yeah.
Um, and do something like that. And kind of roll the dice on if you're going to be able to re-sign him for next year. It would just
Yeah.
be tough.
Let's touch on Najee Marshall and Derek Jones real quick because I know
Yeah.
you brought them up.
Um.
In terms of those two, I'd say they're pretty similar archetypes of players.
Yeah.
But I definitely have a stronger preference towards Najee Marshall.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Um,
I
he's a
have
little
Najee
bit bigger, a little
Marshall
bit stronger, and
in
I
tier
think a little bit
one.
better overall. Yeah.
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 I have Marshall in tier one. One of his most recent games was against the Knicks, and he was guarding Karl Anthony Towns and was doing a great job.
Hmm.
Like, Karl did not have a really efficient game. He still had good counting stats. You know, he had 22 points and like 18 rebounds, but like Najee Marshall more or less, kind of made offense really difficult for him. He's a utility piece, and he also is like a pretty fucking good passer. So I think he'd be someone who I think would be a Kyle Anderson plus. Like, that's kind of his sort
Yeah.
of
A
projection.
little more dynamic. Yep.
Yeah,
Hmm.
where he's like able to. Kyle Anderson's just slow, and Najee Marshall isn't. Najee Marshall, I think, is just a little bit more athletic, um, and that's like an incredibly valuable piece. He just can't shoot, and so again, you run into
Hmm.
the shooting problem.
Yeah.
So, and then
Is he
Derek
similar?
Jones.
I wanted to ask you this.
Oh
Do you
yeah.
think, sorry, Najee Marshall is similar to Terrence Shannon Jr.?
Ooh, yeah. Like,
Yeah.
if Terrence Shannon Jr. could project to be Najee Marshall in like 2 years, that's an absolute win. The problem
Yeah.
is that with Terrence, that's a great comparison, dude.
Yeah.
Fuck, dude, that's a
I've
great
watched a little bit of his
comparison.
tape, and I'm like,
Yeah,
they seem very similar.
they're both power wings who kind of are not
Hmm.
super efficient from three, or just like their shot diet isn't going to be a lot of threes.
Yep.
It's going to be more drives to the rim. If Terrence, look at in terms of a developmental story, it would be a huge success for the team if Terrence Shannon Jr. turns into 90% of what Najee Marshall is, where he's 9 to 11 points per game, 5 rebounds, 2 assists, just like a consistent energy piece off the bench and a versatile
Hmm.
defender. But I'm
Yep.
concerned. This is kind of going into tangent on Terrence Shannon. I am concerned with his play. He's been such a negative on the court when he's played. Now, granted, apparently he's been pretty injured. Like, the foot thing it exists. He's been having foot problems, but even when he's supposedly been healthy, it's been terrible, and every team metric has been bad. So I just don't know what the development looks like for him going forward. You hope that he can develop, but again, he's older. He's like 25.
Yeah.
So
I don't know. That was just a thought that came to mind when we
Yeah.
were talking about Najee
Dude.
Marshall.
great fucking comparison. Like, that is like like, if he could be Najee Marshall, that's perfect. Like, because they have the
Yep.
same body type and like
Hmm.
styles. Quickly, let's touch on Derek Jones. He is injured. I don't think they'll trade for him because why are you rolling the dice on someone who's injured? It's kind of a ridiculous
Yeah.
proposition.
Wasted
but
risk when you're already a pretty solid
yeah,
team. Yep.
yeah, he's good. He's just solid. He's a rotation piece. It's kind of that.
Yeah.
He's only played 17 games. Again, he's injured. But in those 17 games, he's started quite a few of them. Started 13 of them,
Hmm.
and is shooting pretty well from three. But it isn't like an insane volume. He's only shooting 3 attempts per game. He's making 40% of them, but it's only 3 attempts.
Yeah.
He's weirdly like blocks a lot of shots. Like, he averages a block a game, which is kind of
Yeah.
insane.
I mean,
Like, he's so
he has
athletic.
the athleticism and the length. Yeah.
Yeah.
I've personally never been a huge fan of his game, although he has absurd athleticism. I'm not a buyer in his shot.
Yeah.
I'm happy if he shoots. I feel like if I'm an opposing team,
Is he a lefty?
yeah,
He is. Okay. Yeah, that's what I thought. Yeah. I I mean, the idea of him, I like an uber athletic wing who's a good defender and can like make some shots is great. I I think there's more question marks with his game than there are with
Mm-hmm.
other people's game, even though like his counting
Agreed.
stats would suggest otherwise.
100%. And I think a couple years ago in the finals and that playoff run with Luca, I think Luca made him look a lot better,
Yeah.
just because of positions Luca was putting him in. And I think the team organization as a whole was really good that year. But I've personally never been a fan of him just because I don't think he has a consistent jumper.
Yeah. It just looks a little funky. So,
Yeah.
all right. Well, that's kind of I think that's a good place to stop for this pod. Um, we kind of gave you guys, as a kind of a good snapshot of what we got going on right now. Some of what we think the team needs to show and continue to lean into to be a contender, and as an efficient clutch performer, and then of course some trade ideas, because who doesn't like trade fodder this time of year? It's honestly some of the most fun you can have as an NBA fan is speculating it. So about 5 players that I think are possible. Actually, dude, my brother Daniel is a big trade guy, but he'll come in and be like, "What about this guy? What about this guy?" I was like, "Dude, none of the money works." He's just like we just go like Tyrese Maxey real quick. Like, why not Tyrese Maxey? I'm like, homie.
No, we love Dan.
Rob Dillingham does not have that kind of value. Like, Rob Dillingham is not getting you an all-star in return. And as much as he likes Rob Dillingham, it's just unfortunately his development here has not been what you wanted it to be. So moving off him now makes sense. So yeah, just some trade ideas. Let us know in the comments below what you guys think, and if you think that there's another name out there that we should have taken a look at, or a guy that you're really liking right now in terms of trade.
Absolutely. But yeah, that's about it. Sideline Out of Bounds episode 2 concluded. We're going to try to have a more consistent schedule going forward. And we'll see you guys when we do. Appreciate y'all.